I'm that girl who says to daylight savings, why do you do us like this? We have children. Someone think of the children. Okay, so apart from that, welcome back, everybody. Very interesting times, fascinating information flying through sessions once again, which always astounds me into thinking, wow, this is exciting. This is very, very, very exciting. And so there's that. What to say, gosh, and what not to say. Very interesting. So I do the best I can. And, this is why if you are left lingering and curious and wanting to explore more in terms of free, just spoiler alert, in terms of free, that's the second time I'm going to say that, and hopefully the last. But whatever I get prompted to say to you all who I know are listening, there is that. So that's your teams once again pushing you with much love. This is the now. This is the moment you are supposed to embrace it and to be able to truly empower yourself. If it hasn't worked before, where you weren't able to relax, or you didn't trust the practitioner, or it was a Wednesday, or something that kind of made you feel like that wasn't the best experience for you, don't give up. Never give up. We're here to be of service until the very last second that we're here in the 3D. So there is no time for us to retire or get comfortable or, have a holiday. We're always constantly seeking out ways to empower others, ways to empower ourselves as we move forward. And the fun thing is, the more we do work here, the better it's going to be for everyone. And the better that you're going to be able to ease and glide and grace with jazz hands into the new dimension that we're all shifting into for most. Now, life contracts change quite often as we choose to either not be of assistance and service, or we feel like we actually love the density. We love to deceive people. We love to deceive ourselves. And so we're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go to another 3D planet to, have that experience, or return to source, or something. That is not a judgment. That's all choices. And we can empower everyone with their choices, but they make their own decisions. Your teams may have already organized with you your life contract to be able to do certain things, but in reality, you aren't actually able to be capable of doing the things that you'd hoped. And so life contracts do change. And so when you are still wanting to Miranda and to explore and expand upon the lessons and experiences that the 3D has to offer, potentially simulation life experiences off planet somewhere else is going to suit you really well. Perfect cup of tea. And that is fine. That is perfect. You cannot jump stepping stones. And so this is why they're encouraging everyone who's listening to these sessions to really consider your life choices. Do you want to be following what you truly know in your heart is where you're supposed to be going? Because there's always choices, right? And so we are being delayed because of people's choices. That's absolutely, provable. And that is not judgment, because look at all the other experiences we're having in between. But there is going to be a moment where everything will have to stop. So are we enjoying the ride? Is it worth it? Are your choices worth it? Not just for you and yourself and the people that you are empowering or impacting, but others. We have to be mindful of our energy. If we are holding energy grids, for example, that's not going to be so helpful, is it, if we choose to hold density? So in saying that, there is that fun fact that we know about when we dip into deep density and match other density, then it's sort of like it equalizes, and then we can rise above it. So there's that. So lots of people seem to be very stressed this week because they're feeling this massive energy, and they're feeling lethargic and not motivated, and just feeling generally ho-hum. And so they always sort of trips them into thinking, oh gosh, I'm not of service. This is terrible. I hate feeling like this. Where's my inner peace gone? Where's my joy? And potentially on that side of the coin, if we want to look at it from the metaphysics, you're matching down into density to be able to feel into it, merge into it, and then as you want to choose to empower yourself out of it, you will also add that density. It's quite strange, isn't it, when you sort of think about merging densities and clearing densities, how we do that. And of course, because this is an emotional planet, we are, we're really emotional beings, and that's how we work and manipulate our energy, isn't it? Through our emotions and our conscious awareness when we're in this level. So fantastic, isn't it? Really, really interesting. So we get to choose how we want to play, and how we want to help, and how we want to assist. And so, if we're mindful of what we're actually doing, and this is why it's kind of easier for lots of people to shake it off and be like, oh, I'm going to dismiss all of this nonsense. I'm just going to do 3D. I'm not going to look into anything metaphysical. I'm not going to see any significances or purposes. I'm just going to live my life and, eat whatever I want to eat, lots of sugar, and, live your best 3D life. And you know what? Instead of really struggling, trying to be of assistance and service, but you can actually find really grace and ease and joy just living in ignorance. If that really is the best for you and easiest for you and does keep you in a vibration of high, and it gives you joy, do that. Doesn't it make sense? Sometimes when we're really pushing things really hard and we really want something, and it's just, it consumes us because we're overthinking it, we're over worrying about it, we're not feeling good enough. And so therefore, we haven't shifted. So let's just feel terrible and a failure, blah, 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 blah. Can you see that when you're trying to do the best intentions, you're creating more density? So if you want to have a binge watch weekend of just junk food and just living your best sloth lives matter too. Okay. So, give yourself an effing break. We know this information is pretty intensive. We know that we have to be preparing ourselves for those who are going to be on the old earth. Yeah, that does feel like a lot. It does feel like a lot. It's almost kind of quite intensive. But we don't have to buy into future worries and fears. In fact, we must be embracing and balanced and in neutral. And so whatever you choose to do with your days, it must, you must be responsible with how it makes you feel. And, sometimes when we dive into Dolores Cannon's books, for example, it can be so much information, it almost feels overwhelming. Or how it does for me when I read her books, I kind of go into that other state and get really sort of lost in the information and sort of get lots of downloads of little epiphanies and things like that to kind of apply. And then it gives me more information to be able to explore and expand upon in other sessions, to be able to see how else we can use these sessions to be able to help humanity and release the density and all that fun stuff. It's kind of like cleaning, isn't it? It's spring cleaning humanity and this planet. So there's that. Another thing I want to say, and lots of people think I judge regarding vaccination statuses, and I don't. I think I've been very clear with the fact that I know lots of people have felt like they had to do it. And so, you don't need to justify anything to me, my friends. You do you the best way you can with all of your choices. I'm doing me the best way I can with all of my choices. And so it's really, it's really kind of sad in some ways where clients say, oh, I'm right at the end when they've confessed to me their marital affairs and how they've embezzled money in companies and all this sort of stuff. And they have no problem sharing all that sort of information with me. But the biggest problem that they think that they can share with me, that they're afraid that I may be like, is their vaccine status. And, obviously I have the metaphysical perspective, and then I have my own perspective as well in the 3D, but I know both sides of it. And I want to be mature with the results. And I know, I know quite a lot about it, really, and I can see beauty and purpose in what's going on there. It's so challenging because I don't want to have any of my videos censored or removed, and so I don't really want to sort of say the things that I want to say, just to be able to clear it out and spell it out. But everything's purposeful, and what we think may be really harming humanity now, because we do know that that was the agenda, right? We do know that was the agenda. And for some cases, that is exit points and is giving them life experiences and lessons to be able to think, wait a minute, was that not empowering me and making me healthy? Because I feel like crap after that. So there's that. But everything's for lessons and experiences and is purposeful, right? And so what do we know about nano? Technology. So we do know that it was designed to have a little battery to be able to do wicked things to people's bodies. We know that, but we also know that that was the agenda of a certain group. And we also know that our collectives are well aware of all of these little groups living their best cheeky little monkey lives. So, sorry, naughty lives, not monkey lives. Monkeys are innocent in this. So there's that. And so anyway, we know that the battery has been taken out, and just kind of like nuclear technology, right? Nuclear weapons, they don't work. Wonder why? Oh, that's right, because we're not responsible to play with that sort of stuff. And so our higher collectives have worked that out for us, thank goodness, right? Otherwise we would have been gone a long time ago. And that's sort of frustrating, isn't it? It's like, well, why are we still here? We're here for experiences. We're still here for experiences. And the slow kids in the class, sometimes I've referred to them, still need to see all of these different experiences to wake up to the manipulation. Often they're not convinced. Often they still believe the leaders. They still trust that they are being protected and they're not being lied to. Okay, because that's a nice one. Like, I mean, we all deserve not to be lied to. We all deserve to have faith and trust in professionals. And when they say that they have given testing and all sorts of bits and pieces, you know, they should be honest. They should absolutely be honest with that. And, you know, we sort of know otherwise. And so here is man and a group of men, women, you know, using this, using these to, you know, what we could say could be, what is the word? Depopulation. And so, yes, for those people who want to depopulate for their own purposes and needs and desires, that was absolutely their agenda. But what do we know? What do we know about the shift and what the real reason is that this planet's going to be depopulated? Is it because we've died our one and single only life and that's game over for us? Or could it be said that we have shifted and there is something else that we're doing in the meantime? So, yes, we're very protected, thank goodness, right? And so for those people who needed to have exit points because of their choices, for either they were not evolving or they evolved perfectly to their soul's requirements, fantastic, right? We can trust all is well. We can trust all who shift and all who are here. It is allowed. It is allowed by all our collectives who are watching us, like, you know, very focused on us right now to make sure we're living our best lives. Of course, we have our free will, obviously, but if we are walking more and more and more away from our life purpose and mission, they will firmly and with much love guide us back to what we should be focusing on. So there's that. And so I know lots of people have wanted to avoid and shun those who have not been inoculated, and vice versa, right? Both sides of the team are judging each other, both sides of the coin, shall we say, for, you know, how we talk, how I talk. And so it was just yesterday that I said, you know, we must be able to see things from both sides of the coin because it's all one. It's one coin and it has different perspectives, right? And so we could say it's good or bad or, you know, positive or negative or, you know, heads or tails or whatever. So I didn't know if we really clarified this clearly, because when someone's resistant and reluctant to tell me their vaccine status, I sort of feel like I want to expand on this more, because I don't want you to think that I have any judgment on what you do with your bodies. I want you to love your bodies and be in joy with your bodies and be one with your bodies as you're noticing your bodies are being upgraded. And isn't that the key? So we know that humanity in its totality is still slowly evolving. Right? What a marvelous experiment. These humanoid bodies in this density having all of the range of emotions being played out for them to have fun with. And so when you aren't evolving fast enough to, say, naturally graduate into the fifth dimension here on this planet, because it's no longer the option now, that has been taken away from humanity because of humanity's choices. So we're needing to be upgraded profoundly and fastly, swiftly, very, very, very swiftly. And this is not just a new thing this year or even this sort of century, is it? They have been trying to upgrade us all the time. And when I ask certain subconsciouses from clients, how they feel upgraded, will tell me about, what's going on for them. And they will talk about their DNA, how many strands of DNA they have, how updated they are, and all that sort of stuff. It's very, very interesting. And when you are trying to upgrade a whole planet, you don't just do, a copy paste of all and then upgrade everyone and then just hope for the best. You actually have to do small numbers, test examples to see how the body reacts and works. And we know when we've been close to many sort of like windows of opportunities for shifting, I've known certain clients to really be profoundly upgraded to the point where they're just on that brink of shifting. And so it can be quite overwhelming, can be really rough. Super rough, and it can be quite scary when you're the only one experiencing this. But the sort of tinkering with certain beings, certain bodies, to be able to see how can it work, because they're really wanting us to be evolved and upgraded as much as possible to kind of really walk into the ships in the fifth dimension, right? So it's kind of a holding, because we have lost the 3D body as soon as you shift, right? So, and they want us to release and release all of the 3D density, but our mindsets are still carrying on with us and still having a 3D reaction perspective. And so, that's a really interesting thing. And until we get to the new earth, the time between it takes you to get from one location to another location is dependent on how you are processing and evolving and making your choices to be able to accept what's happened. Acceptance. It's quite extraordinary. It can take people a lot of time to accept things. Even if you are on a spaceship, knowing that you're on a spaceship, knowing what you've heard about how the planet is going and what is happening to the planet, there's still going to be a long time for some people to accept what has occurred. Maybe too much for people. They may have to be in a sleep-like state as they are having dreams to be upgraded and given the notions of information. This is very intriguing. And so while I say to those people who have needed those upgrades with those inoculations, I love that for you guys. It is so fantastic and it's so helpful. And I know that it has profoundly upgraded quite a few people. And I love that for them. And, sorry that they were so scared to get it, because in hindsight, it was a really powerful thing that they really appreciated, because they could feel the density leaving their bodies. Yes, they were sick. Yes, absolutely, they were sick, but it was a detoxing, a purging. I know I've done sessions with people where I've asked the subconsciouses to remove all heavy metals from the body, and that is rough. That is like being run over by a Mack truck. It is intensive. You feel completely ill, to the point where someone was really concerned that there was something wrong that had happened to their bodies in sessions, because they felt dreadful afterwards. And it's not a negative. It's just a very powerful detox. and we're supposed to detox softly and subtly till we can cope with it. But for that client and those clients, the subconscious wanted them to experience something they'd never felt before, to really get their attention and pay notice of this information, pay notice of what your body is doing, and really respect what the subconscious had to say. So there's that. So yeah, just two sides of the coin. And for some people, it's the exit points. And for some people, it's their upgrades. And so I don't want people to sort of think, well, I'm not going to have my immunization, so therefore I'm not going to exit. That's not going to be the case at all. Everyone will exit one way or another. And we always knew that, right? We always knew that we were going to leave this life that we have created. And we are blessed and lucky enough to have faith and trust that there is other lifetimes out there waiting for us. And we are helping and assisting humanity with its big evolution while it's being manually supported, not just through the collectives, but us here helping all, loving all. And while our 3D lives can be so demanding, sometimes we super focus on it more and it distracts us from the bigger perspective and the bigger things coming. That can be quite fine too. So find where you are judging yourselves, find where you are thinking you're not good enough, find where you are obsessing on certain things. Often we're going to have more and more and more of these triggers to be able to make sure we release all density, all sort of low thought opinions. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Low thought opinions. And so while we know that not everything is love and light, and if we truly only just focus on love and light, we would be so high perspective that we wouldn't be able to help those people who are sort of still struggling with the density and trying to understand. We're noticing more and more people are awakening, so they're kind of groggy to the truth. And they've started seeing and noticing certain disclosures occurring that's kind of making them go, since when? And the hardest thing is when you're awoken to the bigger truths, all you see is these disclosures and think, God, was it this obvious the entire time and I still was oblivious to it? And potentially yes, and also potentially no. They are hemorrhaging disclosures now, aren't they, for all to hear and for all to notice. So it's ramping up. Not only our physical bodies ramping up quite profoundly, so are our friends. And so it is extraordinary times. So honor yourselves. Notice any bad habits you're kind of dipping back into too, because while we can jump ahead and sort of, skip some stepping stones to do our true inner work, your teams know. Your teams know. And so if you've sort of jumped into old habits and routines and behaviors, it is for you to truly finally address that and empower yourself. And I noticed yesterday they said and reminded you, you do not need permission from anyone to do as you need and choose and please. Right? Any human, don't need any permission from any human to do what you need to do, to help you, to empower you, to heal you, to inspire you, to encourage you. And this is a really important thing when we often think that we still need permission from either our parents or our spouses or approvals from governments or whatever. Are you still in control, in full control and in charge? Or are you still trying to be meek and see if everyone else will support you wanting to empower yourself? When we can be fully self-governing in terms of self-love and self-empowerment, when we're trying to gain that and embrace ourselves and empower ourselves with that, sometimes we still want to have confirmation that we're allowed to do certain things. And, so we're sort of waiting for other people to give us permission, or we are, still asking for permission from other people. And so think about the last time you asked for permission and what did that look like? So interesting what we still kind of aren't noticing about our behaviors and our perceptions and in what we're sort of doing. So I know that the teams are like, ask us everything. We will always give you thumbs up, and we will always support you when you're on purpose and path. And, when we're trying to rely on other 3D minds and egos, do make sure that they have done enough of their own inner work to be able to advise you correctly. I mean, it's quite a big difference, isn't it? If someone is a massive fear and massive density, while we love them, would you really want to take advice from them? But yet we often throw away what we really want and need and want to do over other people's opinions and advices and all that sort of stuff. So just double check. Do you have any of that? Are you doing any of that? Sometimes I know when I hear from my clients, it's their children that are kind of blocking them from doing more things for whatever reason that is, right? So it can be your adult children, not just your little toddlers. And so it's so interesting when we love people and respect people, but they can actually limit us. And not because they want to limit us, they're not even consciously aware that they're limiting us. They don't even realize how much power they wield over us. And so just see. And, for those people who have already overcome and graduated from that, it might be a good time to just really see how easy it was for you to give in to others, to make others authority figures onto you. Obviously, our parents kind of naturally take on that role, and potentially other partners. It's really interesting because when you talk to people who have already overcome it, it's their original, like, it's my first and second husbands that would do that. And now my fourth husband, sees me as an equal, and I don't ask for shit from him. We are living our best independent lives and embracing it. And I love that. I love that. So sometimes when we are so focused on empowering others and we forget about ourselves, we still want to empower others by asking others for permission, because we would never want to do something that would take away from them. But often we stumble, and what we realize is that we're not loving ourselves or empowering ourselves because we are so focused on empowering others. And what does it look like when we stop focusing on certain people and start focusing on self and empowering self? Doesn't that feel selfish? It shouldn't, because we want to be the best supports for all people in our lives. And how do we do that? We give ourselves oxygen first on the plane as it is crashing to the ground. We should give ourselves love and empowerment and encouragement and do all our inner work as much as we can to be able to inspire others to do the same. But when we're still leaning on certain people, when we don't realize we are our own individual leaders in our own lives, it's quite exciting. Yes, when we start learning these skill sets, we can go a little bit overboard as we try to find our balance. I remember when I got when I removed the block from my voice, and I felt like I went, it was too much. And I sort of had to find a way to not be that much. But I didn't want to go back to holding my truth and my expressions and my thoughts and feelings. I wanted to really speak out, but I realized I was doing it too much. And it was quite a shock. A lot of people who were in my life at that time, all those years ago, really did not know what to do, because suddenly I'm not holding back. It was a journey. And then the more I grew and the more information I started getting about like the shift and new earth and all of these things, I knew when to share and when I didn't. But it was so hard. Sometimes I was so excited and so passionate. I wanted to share. I needed to share. I had to share because I just wanted to get it out, to be able to process it, to vent it out, to hear it out, to sound it out, to feel it out. And so those people that were not quite ready to hear about it, got quite sort of shocked with it. But then, purposeful, sowing those seeds And, they may, they will eventually know that what I was saying was, the full truth. But not everyone needs to accept the full truth to have themselves evacuated from a planet and find themselves on the new earth. That's not necessary for everyone to believe this, and that is totally fine. In terms of free, okay, so I think I clarified surprisingly how we get upgrades, profound upgrades. Right. So we can trust that our teams are always protecting us and giving us the best experiences that we need to be able to have opportunities for soul's growth. And so those people who have had enhancements, it basically is an enhancement, isn't it? While it can look so bad on that coin of all of their reactions and even exit points and all this sort of stuff, that's from a 3D perspective. And as we maturely grow in our metaphysical perspective, we must be able to see both sides of the coin and have balance and acceptance. We cannot assume because we're 3D that we know everything from their perspective, from the metaphysical perspective. We just possibly can't. So I know lots of people still want to think that they can argue with their higher selves and teach the higher selves something, and that's really ridiculously adorable, but it's never going to help you if you still think that you are the master of the universe. It really sort of blocks and limits, and those are the sort of big egos that need to humble themselves to be able to see the bigger perspective for all. And, we can just accept that every other subconscious for everyone else on this planet is working their best to be able to make sure those people are having exactly what they need to. And so lots of people who are really upset because they've noticed their bodies have changed, but they don't understand the positive of that change after being coerced into inoculation, they feel very upset and violated and super coerced, and now their bodies are sick, and it scares them. It really, really scares them. Okay, that's unfortunate, because if they had the metaphysical perspective, they would trust and understand their bodies have been profoundly upgraded as they are detoxing through the upgradement. But that takes a lot of trust and faith. And when you start telling yourself that your body is bad and that your body is sick, then what will you do next? Will you then go to the doctors and get more medicines that may be agitating the upgrade? Because we know that our teams can only do so much to a certain extent with us using our free will. And so, there's that. It's a complicated chess game of health and empowerment and a whole lot of other jazz hands in between. So, it's always extraordinary. So can we find balance and neutral in everything and trust that all is purposeful? And when they say all is purposeful, they are saying all is purposeful. They haven't forgotten about big things at all. And again, what is the lessons and purposeful and experiences for me may not be the same for you, and that is totally okay, because it's tailor-made experiences that we all need to have on this journey. What may trigger you may not trigger me, but we are both on the same roller coaster experience to have those opportunities for growth. So there's that. Just a little light conversation on a Sunday morning. Daylight savings. So fantastic, isn't it? Okay, my friends, have a fantastic weekend. I love you. And just really feel into the lessons and experiences that you have overcome and that you are working through, and give yourselves a kind break, and stop that negative judgment or that density appreciation. No, what is that? Appreciate the density for the lessons and experiences. As soon as you start seeing the good in the experiences and from the metaphysical for the learning, then it suddenly diffuses the emotion attached to it. So I say this with much love. Drink lots of water, add salt into your bodies, and still go out and enjoy and embrace each and every day, and all those beautiful souls that your teams are making you connect in with. Your love and unconditional compassion towards them. truly is making a profound difference.